goal, then you tighten up. Kick a field goal, then you tighten up. First and 10, then you tighten up. Interception, then you tighten up. Fourth and goal, then you tighten up. Kick a field goal, then you tighten up. First and 10, then you tighten up. Interception, then you tighten up. Tighten up, tighten up, tighten up, tighten up.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Titan Town for another Tennessee Titans video. Today I'm giving you my top 10 takeaways from the Titans' first preseason game against the Green Bay Packers. Be sure to check the description box below. There's some great links in there you can find, including Facebook and Twitter, to where you can get your shout outs and your opinions heard here on the channel. So be sure to check those out. Be sure to leave a like on the video if you like the content, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. A lot of great stuff coming in the future. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Number 10, sloppy penalties. Now this is the very first preseason game of the year, so that is going to happen, and that is not so much on the first team, but overall the Titans ended up with 14 penalties for 124 yards, while the Packers ended up with 10 penalties, which resulted in 74 yards. So it was a pretty sloppy game. Not to mention the leading with the head rule is stupid. I'm just also going to throw in the new kickoff rule is stupid, but you know, it is what it is. There were some sloppy penalties in this one. It should get cleaned up in the future. Moving on, number 9, Jayon Brown can do anything. He gave up the touchdown early on, but he come back and redeemed himself. He ended the night with 3 tackles, 3 assists, and an interception. Now this is one of those times where the stats kind of don't tell the full story. While 3 tackles and 3 assists doesn't seem like much, Jayon was just all over the field doing all kinds of stuff, and to me he looked like Roquan Smith in college. He was just lined up here, doing this, doing that, making plays in the run game, filling gaps, dropping back into coverage, covering his man. The interception, I'm not going to give him so much credit for, just as Coach Vrabel pointed out, that the ball just kind of got popped up straight up in the air and he ran under it. But overall, very solid night, and I might go out on a limb and say that Jayon Brown is more valuable to the team than what Will Compton is. We still haven't got to see Rashaan Evans in action yet, so hopefully he can come in and compete at a high level as well, and that will really solidify the position for us. Because if Rashaan Evans is very good as well, that would give us great depth. I think Jayon makes a great chess piece and a great depth piece, while Will Compton makes a very solid depth piece as well. Moving on, number 8, I do have some concerns over the first team defense. The pass rush just was not there, and that was playing against second team tackles. This was not the Packers starting tackles. The pass rush did not seem to be there. They let the second string quarterback march down the field on them. And I'm not talking about the play where Malcolm Butler gave up to Devontae Adams. That was just a perfect throw mixed in with an excellent route. There wasn't much you can do there, but still, there should have been a better pass rush, and they shouldn't have let a second string quarterback march down the field on them like that. Moving on to number 7, Sharif, Finch, and Juluis Warmsley. I was trying to make sure I got Sharif's name correctly because I always want to call him Finch, but it's Finch. They had solid performances. Both these guys are on the roster bubble, and this is another time where the stats do not tell the full story. While Sharif Finch had a sack and 1 tackle, Juluis Warmsley, I'm just going to call him Worms from here on out, that's what the team calls him, Worms, had 1 tackle and a batted pass. Now while those stats also don't jump out at you, both these guys were very disruptive in this game, causing havoc along the offensive line, really making the quarterback rush his throws, really filling up their run lane. So both these guys did a very good job in helping themselves make this roster. Moving on to number 6, I really didn't see any of the bottom half of the receiving corps really stand out. Now we've heard a lot of buzz about Jordan Vesey, Deontay Burnett, Devin Ross, all these guys. We've heard buzz coming out of them from training camp to rookie mini camp, all these things. A lot of great things have been said about them. While Deontay Burnett and Devin Ross did have a nice catch or two, they really didn't do anything to stand out or separate themselves from the rest of the competition. So hopefully we'll get to see more of them in the next coming preseason games, and maybe they can do something to stand out, because right now there's just really not anything that I see that just really separates one from the other. I don't really see them as starting caliber players right now, or rotational players, or depth players. Right now, I just see them as practice squad guys, so hopefully they can do something to separate themselves and make us fans excited to see them the next time that we do get to see them. So moving on to number 5, also with the receiver position, Nick Williams is our number 4 receiver, not Tajae Sharpe, behind Corey Davis, Rashard Matthews, and Jayon Taylor. Is Nick Williams. He had a very nice catch in this game. We've heard a lot of praise from him. He's been getting the majority of the first team reps over Tajae Sharpe, had a better game than Tajae Sharpe, and really set up that touchdown to Darius Jennings. So Nick Williams is going to be our wide receiver 4. He looks very good. I think he will be dynamic in the slot as well. So I expect him to get some playing time throughout the season. So really looking forward to seeing him and what he can do. He's really had a tough time in the league. Hopefully he's finally developed. He can get some chemistry with Marcus Mariota, and we can really utilize his skill set. And while Tajae Sharpe, this is not a knock against him. It's just kind of like something that we wasn't expecting. We was expecting Tajae Sharpe and Jayon Taylor to be competing for that wide receiver 3 spot, but instead, Jayon Taylor has won that role as a wide receiver 3, and Nick Williams has pretty much locked up that role at wide receiver 4, putting Tajae Sharpe back at wide receiver 5, which is not a bad thing. Tajae Sharpe is a very good depth guy. He can work the slot. He can play a rotational piece, so that gives us solid depth there. And we might not, and Jordan Beasy, Deontay Burnett, or Devin Ross might not even make this roster. You can also throw Michael Campanaro in there, who we haven't talked about yet or seen yet. So you could also throw him in that category, because it is not out of the realm of possibility that this team only runs 5 wide receivers on the active roster. So that 6th wide receiver spot is going to be very tough to get, especially when roster cuts start to happen, and maybe a veteran who's making too much money for what he's producing gets cut. The team might go after that guy. Might be another promising rookie that the Titans had their eye on in the draft process that they weren't able to get. So a lot of things could happen when roster cuts. And by the way, after our next preseason game, I'm going to give you my projection for the final 53-man roster, while also predicting players who have gotten cut, who might get cut from other teams. I'm not going to do it after week 3, because after that 3rd preseason games, the cuts start coming, and it should boom, 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 one right after the other. The way it's set up now, they just cut from 90 down to 53 in one, just one fell swoop. So I'm not going to do that after week 3, because it'd be very rushed. I really want to take my time and do a good solid job on that video. So moving on to number 4, I am extremely concerned about our depth in the secondary behind our top 4 cornerbacks, LaShawn Sims being number 4, which he was a little bit inconsistent in this game, but not to the extent of the other players. To me, it looked like Kalen Reed and Demontre Hurst didn't even want to make this roster. Kalen Reed looked like a Parrish Cox or a Jason McCourty back in the day, where he was there to make the play. He just wasn't making the play. Demontre Hurst was just letting his guy run wide open. Wasn't even was just always a step or 2, or usually about 3 steps behind him. I don't know what he was doing out there. I don't know if he doesn't know the playbook, he doesn't understand the playbook, or he's just not athletic enough to keep up in this league. But those 2 guys look like they didn't even want to make the roster. I'm not quite ready to give up on Kalen Reed just yet, because he is versatile enough to play the safety position. He was there in a position to make the play, he just wasn't making them. He needs to do a better job of getting his head turned around and locating the football quicker. But because of his versatility and being able to play safety or cornerback, I still like him for what he is. He is there to make the play. We just need to get him to making the play. And I might put him in and give him more reps at safety to see how he does covering maybe tight ends who aren't quite as quick as wide receivers, or running backs who do not really specialize in catching the football. While Rico Gafford, he did show potential. His athleticism did flash from time to time, but he did look like what he was. That is an undrafted rookie. He looks like a good guy to put on the practice squad and see if you can develop, because there were some plays where, his man just beat him and got open. There were some plays where he was there in a position to make the play. He just didn't make the play. And there were a couple of plays where he did make the play, but very inconsistent. A lot of mistakes, a lot of fundamentals he needs to get back to. Looks like a good guy to stick on your practice squad and see if you can develop for the next couple of years, because he does have that athleticism. He's got like that. I won't quite put him in the realm of Adoree Jackson athleticism, but he is close with his speed and his shiftiness. So Rico Gafford will be a good person to put on the practice squad and see if you can have something in him in the future. While Demontre Hurst, at this point, I would just let him go and cut your losses and move on and see if I can find somebody who gets cut or is still out on the open market. But I was very, very concerned about our depth at the cornerback position after our starting four. Well, not starting four, but after our top four. After our starting three, we then have LaShawn Sims. But after that, I do have quite a bit of concern there. J-Rob also does. He cut 2 and added 2 more after this game. So let's go ahead and move on to number 3. Number 3 is special teams looks as strong as ever, and that was without Adoree Jackson or Dion Lewis back there returning the kicks for us. LaShawn Sims forced a fumble on playing as a gunner in the first quarter of the game. Forced a fumble, which was very good. Akrum Wadley had a 64-yard return, while Cameron Batson returned 3 kicks for 67 yards, including a 33-yard return. So it looks like we're going to be in good shape on winning field position battles, as well as both of our punters, Brett Kern and the Bernard guy. They both pinned the other team, the Packers, back when it comes to punting the football. We got some good returners, so I'm really excited to see our special teams unit, which I don't know, a lot of fans don't really care much for special teams, but I like the special teams phase of the game. I like seeing kick returns and punt returns, so I like that. So we're going to see quite a bit of that. We got some good guys who can return for us, including Adoree Jackson and Dion Lewis, who we didn't see, who are a threat to take it to the house anytime. And I guess you could say the same thing about Cameron Batson and Akrum Wadley after seeing their performance in the special teams unit. Moving on to number 2, it's the defense. We showed a lot of different looks. We've had 3. We ran out there in the 3-4. We ran out there in the 4-3. We had 5 guys stacked at the line of scrimmage. Showed them a lot of different looks. That is going to be a very good thing for us come regular season when we got our faster players out on the field. Really confusing these quarterbacks. We have to make split second decisions. So I really like that. We're really going to confuse quarterbacks, hopefully, whenever we go out there and march, especially the younger quarterbacks and Blake Bortles. But moving on, number 1, our offense. We showed a lot of different looks in offense. We lined up in the shotgun. We lined up in single back. We lined up in I formation. We lined up in bunch receiver sets. We had 3 receivers split out. We had 2 receivers split out. We've done a lot of different things. And if I'm a defensive coordinator, especially in the AFC South Division, I'm watching this game, I'm realizing 2 things right off the bat of how I'm going to have to game plan for the Tennessee Titans. Number 1, I'm going to have to set the edge. Number 2, I'm going to have some good defensive tackles who can create pressure up the middle. So those 2 things are going to be very important in game planning for the Tennessee Titans. But even if you do that, I mean, Marcus has still got legs and he can run. We still got a pretty good offensive line, even though it's not quite as good as what it was, but it's still an above average offensive line. We got some receivers who have some potential. They haven't proven themselves yet, but they have some potential. We also got a guy, they call him Delaney Walker, who has had a few good games for us. So hopefully the Titans can really utilize and maximize their talents in this new offensive scheme. That is what the plan is for this unit. And I think the way we're going to play it, that will definitely do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a like if you haven't yet. Subscribe. A lot of more great stuff coming. And like I said, I'm going to do a roster. I'm going to predict the final 53 roster after our next preseason game, which is on the 18th against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are going to come in and practice with us for that week heading in. So I hope you guys have a great day. As I always say, God bless and tighten up.